Okay, let's get right into it. Welcome to this high-energy explainer where we are going to completely decode exactly what Cambridge examiners are actively looking for in the 9706 AS and A-level Sources of Finance for Business Entities questions. Listen, if you're gearing up for your Cambridge accounting exams right now, you already know that this specific topic, it can absolutely make or break your final grade. So our primary goal today is to look directly through the lens of the examiners themselves. We're going to act like curriculum architects. We'll break down the theoretical foundations, the technical methodology, and that critical higher-order analysis you need to completely master this subject. Get ready, because we are going deep today.
So I want to start us off with a pretty high-stakes question, straight from the principal examiner reports. Honestly, understanding this specific phenomenon is your very first step to unlocking full marks. You really have to ask yourself, why do so many incredibly capable, hardworking students lose easy marks on the sources of finance questions? I mean, it isn't because they haven't read the textbook, right? They know the material. It's almost always because they completely misunderstand the specific academic benchmarks and the strict assessment frameworks that Cambridge rigidly enforces. They're playing the wrong game.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate examiner trap. Look at this quote directly from the principal examiner reports. Answers are often too vague. Examiners want specific details. Students forget to check format and presentation. This happens all the time. Students frequently fall into this terrible habit of just memorizing facts, and then they get into the exam hall and just do a superficial brain dump on the paper. They completely fail to demonstrate the logical, structured reasoning that's actually required to get those top-tier grades. The examiners, they aren't just looking for a list of what you know. They are testing exactly how you present and apply that knowledge to very specific business entities.
So here is our tactical roadmap for today. 1. Core principles. 2. Technical methodology. 3. Deconstruct, solve, evaluate. 4. Securing method marks. 5. Higher order evaluation. And finally, 6. Avoiding examiner traps.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Core Principles. The absolute most crucial point here is exactly what the syllabus emphasizes over and over again. Examiners prioritize analytical depth over superficial breadth. Now, what does that actually mean for you when the clock is ticking in the exam hall? Well, it means you shouldn't just list out 10 different sources of finance, throwing out bank loans, overdrafts, and share capital without any real context. Examiners demand connected, conceptual understanding. They want to see that you can take these established accounting principles and transfer them to completely unfamiliar contexts and scenarios given in the exam stimulus. It's about going deep on a few points rather than going shallow on a dozen.
And you can really see why when we look at this. Mastering this topic requires balancing 3 distinct cognitive domains, which you can see visualized here: knowledge and understanding, analysis, and evaluation. This is proof that raw knowledge alone is just the baseline. It won't get you a top score. You must be able to systematically analyze the data provided and give evidence-based reasoning for your choices. The most successful candidates, the ones hitting those top bands, they demonstrate competence across all 3 of these domains simultaneously.
Moving right along to Section 2, Technical Methodology. Okay, pay close attention to this, because you have to understand the method mark strategy. This is a total game changer. Cambridge heavily, and I mean heavily, rewards the process itself. This means you can secure vital marks just by extracting the right data from the texts and tables, interpreting the relationships correctly, and drawing evidence-based conclusions. And here's the crazy part. You get those marks even if your final calculated number is slightly off due to a small math error. You are being rewarded for selecting the correct analytical framework and executing it logically. Before we move on to how we actually map this out, if you are finding this breakdown helpful, make sure to subscribe to Ace the Exam's IGCS AO and A levels right now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss one of our weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies. Okay, let's get back into it.
All right, Section 3, Deconstruct, Solve, Evaluate. By rigidly following these 5 sequential steps, you are passively structuring your answer to exactly mirror the way the examiner's marking scheme is built. It's almost like a cheat code. First, you identify the given information from the stimulus materials, literally extract the data. Second, you break the complex problem into smaller, logical steps. Third, you solve systematically using crystal clear notation. Fourth, you step back and check your results for reasonableness. Does this number actually make sense in the real world? And finally, you make justified recommendations. If a business entity needs funding, you don't just calculate the cost of a loan, you use this entire framework to justify exactly why one source of finance is structurally better than the alternative for that specific business.
Let's roll into Section 4, Securing Method Marks.
Now, how do we actually lock those method marks in? You must treat practical application as a professional skill. That means meticulously applying strict presentation conventions. The syllabus explicitly states that the presentation of information follows strict conventions. You need proper headings. You must use correct accounting terminology. You have to apply appropriate formats and include clear, easy-to-read annotations. Think about it from the examiner's perspective. If your answer is visually a complete mess and they can't track your logic, they simply cannot award you those method marks, no matter how brilliant your mental arithmetic is. Make it easy for them to give you the grade.
Which brings us to Section 5, Higher Order Evaluation.
Building true analytical depth requires what we call comparative analysis. This doesn't just mean stating facts. It means identifying specific similarities alongside distinct differences, and crucially, using comparative connectives. Words like whereas, conversely, or on the other hand. Top-scoring candidates don't just list the differences between two sources of finance, they actively evaluate the alternatives. They question the underlying assumptions, they consider different stakeholder perspectives, and they back every single comparison up with hard evidence pulled directly from the text. They draw definitive conclusions about relative importance, delivering a fully justified recommendation.
And here is a massive red flag straight from the source material. An examiner alert. The principal examiner reports specifically warn that candidates consistently confuse key terminology when discussing sources of finance. It happens every single year. So, what's the best way to instantly prove your competence and set yourself apart? Always define your terms up front. Before you write a long, extended response evaluating a financial source, just take a sentence to clearly define the terminology. It frames your entire argument, anchors your response, and ensures the examiner knows exactly what you mean from the very first word.
Finally, Section 6, Avoiding Examiner Traps.
Let's synthesize this into the top 3 exam mistakes identified directly by the examiners themselves. Number 1, vague answers lacking specific details. Do not be generic. Number 2, poor formatting and presentation. Always check your headings and terminology. And number 3, and this is the big one, answers that completely ignore the specific business context. If you can actively train yourself to avoid these 3 massive traps, especially making sure your answer actually fits the unique, specific business entity context provided in the question stimulus, you will immediately separate yourself from the average candidate and secure those top-tier grades.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. When you sit down at that desk for the real exam, are you going to secure your method marks through structured, logical reasoning and professional presentation, or are you going to let vague, generic answers hold you back? You now have the exact blueprint straight from Cambridge's own assessment frameworks. The strategy is in your hands. Now I want you to go down to the comments right now and type out your exact target grade for this exam. Put it in writing. And remember, crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent, relentless strategy. So hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels. Turn on the notification bell for more future exam hacks. Practice these exact methods on past papers tonight, and I will see you in our next explainer.